morning, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a beautiful week so far. You recently seem to really enjoy my vegan and gluten-free what I eat in a day, and so this week I wanted to bring you along for another couple of days of vegan and gluten-free meals. I've got some recipes that I am so excited to share with you. First things first is going to be breakfast this morning, and I actually went to go and get an iced chocolate from my local cafe, and when I was there I noticed that they had some gluten-free banana bread in the cabinet. And you know when you have those moments where you see something and you're like, that is exactly what I want for breakfast this morning? That's essentially what happened. So I've got some gluten-free flour in the cupboard. I'm gonna make some gluten-free vegan banana bread this morning. It's actually the perfect morning for it because it's like rainy and cozy kind of vibe today. And yeah, I just feel like it's gonna be a lovely way to start the day. I'm excited for the recipes I have to share with you over the next couple of days. So let's just get on into it. Okay, so to make this banana bread, I am starting with some flax meal as well as some soy milk into a mixing bowl, and I'm going to mix that together to make a flax egg, which I'm going to leave to sit for a couple of minutes. Then I'm going to add in a few small ripe bananas, and I'm going to mash these up with the flax egg until it forms a nice mixture. After that, I'm then going to add in some almond butter as well as a little bit of a neutral flavored oil or a vegan butter, and then I added in some coconut sugar and I continued mixing this all together. Once it had mixed well, I added in some soy milk and I continued mixing that into a smooth liquid mixture before adding in some almond meal as well as some gluten-free flour, some baking soda and a pinch of salt. I'm mixing this all together until a nice banana bread mixture forms, and then of course I'm going to transfer this into a lined banana bread tin, and then I'm going to put this in the oven to bake for about 50 to 60 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. Once it had cooled a little, I removed it from the tin and transferred onto my wire cooling rack, and then once it had cooled down even more, I started slicing this up. Honestly, I think this is some of the best banana bread that I have ever made. It is super fluffy and super delicious, and I honestly really enjoyed eating it on this day but also throughout the rest of the week. I just put a little bit of vegan butter on and I enjoyed this piece very much so for breakfast. For lunch, I decided to make one of my favorite meals, and I started by cutting up some onion. I'm just dicing it finely, and then I'm also crushing and then dicing some garlic. I'm going to transfer this into my saucepan with a little bit of oil and start frying this up before I then add in some taco seasoning and continuing to mix this all together. I'm also adding in a little bit of tinned tomatoes, continuing to mix, and then adding in some red kidney beans. So this is the delicious bean mixture for the nachos that I made this day, and I'm also going to make a mango salsa to go with it. Mangoes are in season here in Australia at the moment, and so I am very much so enjoying them. And this mango salsa I make with some mango, of course, as well as cherry tomatoes and some finely diced red onion. What I do is I cut all of these up, I put them into a bowl, and then I also like to add in some fresh lime juice and then some salt and some pepper, and I mix this together to make a nice, delicious, fresh salsa. Of course, because we're having nachos, there needs to be avocado involved, so I just made some quick smashed avocado. I used half of an avocado as well as the juice of a lime, and then I also used salt and pepper. Especially when I've made a salsa with like tomato and onion and things like that, I really like to keep my smashed avo really simple. So when it comes to serving, I'm piling some corn chips onto a plate, then I'm adding on that bean mixture as well as that fresh mango salsa before I add on the smashed avocado as well as some vegan sour cream, and this was an absolutely divine lunch. Okay, let's get into making some dinner. I'm of course putting my apron on and then I am getting into cutting up some veggies. I'm starting with some red capsicum, which I am slicing into thin slices. I then also have some carrot, which I am again slicing into thin slices, as well as some broccoli, which I cut into florets and then cut the florets into halves. And then I'm also cutting up some green beans, which I cut the ends off and I halved them. As always with meals like this, I encourage you to use whatever veggies you like to have in a stir fry. To make the sauce for this noodle stir fry, I'm putting some tamari as well as rice wine vinegar and some maple syrup as well as lime juice into a bowl, and then I am mixing this together until it's nice and well combined. Then I'm putting some pad thai rice noodles into some boiling hot water to cook, and I just do this as per the packet instructions before putting a little bit of oil as well as all of those veggies I have cut up into my large saucepan. I'm going to keep frying this up for about 5 to 7 minutes before adding in some spring onion and then adding in those cooked noodles. I'm going to fry on a low heat for a couple more minutes before adding in that sauce, where we're just going to fry up for an extra minute maximum before removing this all from the heat. So I made dinner for my partner and I this evening, and so this served too. They were these delicious noodle bowls that I also topped with some crushed peanuts and some fresh spring onions, and they were absolutely lovely. For breakfast the next morning, I was definitely feeling inspired, and we had a lot of potatoes in the pantry that I wanted to use up. So I started by cutting up 3 potatoes and removing the skin from them. I know that it's weird the way that I remove the skin from potatoes. Anyway, I'm grating these potatoes because I'm going to make some homemade hash browns this morning, and my goodness, these were so good. Once I had all of that grated potato, I transferred into a bowl and then added on some cold water so that I could squeeze and remove out the starch from the grated potato. I squeezed this water out and then put this onto some paper towel to then dry out all of this grated potato, and then once I had done that, I'm transferring this back into a separate bowl with some chickpea flour as well as a little bit of veggie stock powder, some smoked paprika as well as some salt and some pepper, and then I added in some vegan cheese as well as some melted vegan butter. I mixed this together well, and then I'm going to use my hands to mold these into 3 separate hash browns, and I'm going to shallow fry these. You definitely don't have to use as much oil here if you would prefer not to be cooking in oil like this, so definitely keep that in mind. If you do decide to fry them like this, I recommend putting onto some paper towel so that they can soak up the oil once they're cooked. My favorite source of plant-based protein for breakfast at the moment is barbecue tempeh, and I have this barbecue tempeh I get from my local health food store, which air fries up really easy, and it is vegan and gluten-free. So I air fried that up and I served it with the hash browns. I also put some cashew cheese as well as some spring onions on top, and this was an absolutely delightful breakfast. One of those ones where I was thanking myself for putting the effort into it because it was absolutely delicious. So I'm about to get into making lunch, and I'm going to do a tray bake kind of situation for lunch today that is really easy and really delicious. It's like with a creamy yogurt based sauce as well, which is really good. And whilst I'm cooking lunch today, I'm going to watch a Skillshare class that I'm about 1/3 of the way through that I'm really excited to finish. You probably know by now I love watching and learning from a Skillshare class whilst I cook, putting the AirPods in and listening. I really enjoy. And a big thank you to my friends at Skillshare for kindly sponsoring this video. It's that time of the year where I feel like a lot of us start thinking about our goals for the new year. I know that I definitely have been. I have a lot of personal as well as professional and creative goals that I am really excited to get stuck into, and I find Skillshare to be such a perfect place for learning about those personal and professional things. The class that I am finishing today that I've been really enjoying so far is a class by Nathaniel Drew. It's called Creativity Unleashed: Discover, Hone and Share Your Voice Online, and I'm honestly absolutely loving it so far and really excited to continue learning more from it. I feel like it's really getting into a lot of what I want to be working on for the next year and moving forward. If you've never heard of Skillshare before, or you're after a bit of a reminder, it is the largest online learning community for creatives. It has thousands of classes as well as a learn by doing approach, and the classes are in a range of categories from productivity and design to cooking and film, and I find it to be a great space to take your career, your hobbies and side hustles to the next level, and a place that allows you to master your skills. If you're looking to learn new things and interested in checking out Skillshare, the first 500 people who use the link in my description box will receive a free 1-month free trial of Skillshare. I feel like it's the perfect time of the year to be getting into it and taking advantage of that free trial. So if you do, I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and let's get into cooking. I'm watching our Skillshare class and just having a lovely start to this early afternoon. Okay, so let me just say that this lunch is really simple, so it's definitely a meal that I recommend trying, especially if you are low on time and are not someone who loves cooking as much. I start by cutting up some broccoli and cauliflower and put this onto a baking tray, and then I'm also adding on some chickpeas which I had drained and rinsed. Then I'm going to spread these out before I drizzle with a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm also going to sprinkle on some veggie stock powder as well as some nutritional yeast. I'm also going to then crack on some black pepper before transferring this baking tray into the oven to roast for about 30 minutes. Once it was almost time to serve, I put some natural coconut yogurt onto my serving plate and I spread this all out pretty well. Then I am going to top this with the roasted veggies and chickpeas. Once again, this is one where you can really be versatile with it and do which veggies and protein sauce you would like to. And I like to also sprinkle a little bit of dukkha over the top of this, as well as serve with a bit of lemon to squeeze over the top. Such a simple meal, but honestly, it's so packed full of flavor and also really wholesome and nourishing. I squeeze that lemon over the top and then very simply scoop up some of the yogurt with some of the veggies and chickpeas and enjoy it very much so. I wasn't really sure what to call this little sweet treat that I'm making here, but I think I've landed on a delicious pistachio biscuit fudge. I'm starting with some coconut condensed milk as well as some dark chocolate and some vegan butter, which I put over the heat to melt together well. You want it to be nice and silky and smooth like so. Then I realized definitely time to put an apron on because we might get a little bit messy with this one. And into my mixing bowl, I'm going to add in some of these gluten-free biscuits. These are from Woolworths here in Australia. They're vegan and gluten-free. There's actually a whole heap of them in the health food aisle that are vegan and gluten-free, so I definitely recommend them. I crushed them up, put them into the bowl, and then I drizzled over that chocolate mixture. I'm also adding in some cocoa powder, some vanilla extract, as well as some salt, and then I'm going to mix this together well until the biscuits are all nice and well coated. I'm going to transfer this into my lined brownie tin. Definitely make sure it's lined because we're putting this into the fridge. And then I'm going to cut up some pistachios. You can definitely sub this out for another nut or a seed if you would like to. I also sprinkle with a bit of salt on top, and then I put this in the fridge to set for a couple of hours. Once it was done, I am cutting this up into pieces, and as you can see, it is this delicious biscuity fudge. It's so good, such a lovely sweet treat, and honestly a good one for the festive season. And somehow we're at dinner already, and honestly tonight I kept it really simple. This is my basic tomato pasta sauce that I make when I feel like I really can't be bothered cooking, and it's such a go-to for me, so I thought, you know what, it's time I properly share this. I start with some onion and some garlic into my saucepan with a bit of oil, and then add in some sun-dried tomatoes. Then I'm also going to add in some tinned tomatoes as well as some plant-based cream, veggie stock powder, coconut sugar, as well as some nutritional yeast. And then I'm going to mix this together until it's nice and well combined. I reduce the heat to low and leave that to cook away whilst I cook up my pasta. I'm using this gluten-free pumpkin gnocchi today that you can once again get from the supermarket here in Australia in the health food aisle. So I serve up some of this gluten-free gnocchi into a bowl, top it with this tomato pasta sauce, and then I am going to grate on some vegan cheese on top as well. And that brings us to the end of what I ate in this day, what I ate in a couple of days, and what I ate in this video. I hope you enjoyed this one and got some new easy meal ideas to try out at home. As always, a big thank you for being here and supporting my channel, and I will see you next week with another video.